Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
So you ask yourself, how dumb and dangerous can the left wing get? Well, stay tuned. They haven't reached their pathetic potential yet. We'll have updates, I'm sure. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot. Come on, Patriots, with a Pledge of Allegiance on a Tuesday. And a good morning to you. Going to be a warm day today, and we urge you to drink a lot of water or whatever, and enjoy the day. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you in a very safe, clean environment and the best in tires. And don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Well, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, Patriot.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all.
Did anybody ever tell you that every time you say something, your voice sounds like it's always smiling? That's really nice.
Thank you, Zeb.
Oh.
God bless America.
All right. God bless you for calling in. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. She always sounds like her voice is smiling, doesn't it? A happy sound. Morning, everybody, in time for the weather. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Oh, they've got all the best of tools and all the equipment you need for long and short-term rental. You know, for whatever project you've got, and you're sitting there kind of scratching your head saying, well, I'm not sure what I need. I don't know how to finish this. Call them on the phone before you run over there and talk about it. 678-3122. They're right there on the Burley Paul Highway. Excellent people to work with, Roger and the whole crew at K&R Rental. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Milder temperatures for today, but still warming up for the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies, a little bit of a breeze out of the west at about 10 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 77. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 50. Tomorrow, sunny skies with a high of 80. Overnight low of 52. We are expecting a high of 88 for Thursday, under sunny skies by Friday, 87. And then as we look ahead towards Saturday and Sunday, it looks like we're going to be in the 90s.
Woo.
That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Wow. Okay, well, it's summertime. Thank you very much for the weather, Gina. And it's brought to you by K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn, right there on the Burley Paul Highway. And believe me, they've got all the tools and equipment you need right now for any kind of a project, all your lawn care, everything at K&R Rental. You get a hold of them today. Caller, I appreciate your call. I'm going to be right there with you. I've got to get 2 more things done quickly. I want to remind everybody about Darrow's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, they are the best at what they do. I know, because that's where I take my clothes, and they are good. Kevin and Cindy, the whole operation right there, first class in taking care of your clothes. Don't forget, too, that if you don't have time to do the washing, they will wash, dry, fold, and iron all of your clothes, just like Mama used to at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Really good folks. Let's see. What else have I got here? Oh, yes, Ramsey Heating and Electric. Hello, Ramsey's. How are you this morning at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley? You know, it's not bragging. It's the truth. They have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, and all the experience, all the knowledge, the best in people, and they've been doing this for almost 7 decades. Holy smokes. Call them on the phone. I've got a cough drop in my mouth, folks, and that's why I'm having trouble this morning. 678-0459, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Can you tell I'm smiling while I'm talking to you?
Yes, you have a smile on your face and a smile in your voice. That lady that called in a few minutes ago, I mean, no matter what, she always sounds smiling, and I really like that. You can tell it in a person's voice.
Yes, and when I was in business, I always taught my salespeople, when you answer the phone, smile. Even if you don't feel that good, you better smile, because that's how you're going to come across.
Yeah. I mean, if I say, okay, there's an example. Good morning. That sounds really harsh and it sounds hard. But if I say, hey, good morning, boy, you can just see the smile.
Yes, you can. And, you know, for the note of the day, you know, if Biden gets elected as President of the United States, we'll have no need for the Oval Office, because he'll be operating in the basement.
Keith, we cannot, and I'm not even going to be jocular about this at all. I'm going to be very serious. We, the United States of America, cannot suffer the evil of getting Joe Biden or any Democrat in the White House this next election. It cannot happen. It would be the ruination, the destruction, and the complete degradation of our country. And I mean that, and I'll go toe-to-toe with anybody on that.
Now, how can Joe Biden be at the top of the polls when he doesn't say anything?
Well,
he just goes down there and eats his Cheerios.
You got to admit that polling is very manipulative as far as how it's done, how it's constructed, how the questions are asked, who is asked the question. All of this, I don't put much credence into it. I'm going to be very concerned, Keith, by September 15th. I'm going to be very concerned by September 15th, because that gives 6 weeks prior to the election. And if the poll numbers and the American attitude is for Biden on September 15th, let me just say this. We've got trouble in River City.
Well, if somebody that comes at me with, trying to influence me or something, and they ask me who I'm going to vote for, I'm not going to say anything, so they'll put you down as you're voting for Biden.
Yeah, I just absolutely think that we've got major trouble in this country with the left, and that's why I stand behind what I said in the opening remarks. It's amazing how low and dumb they can go, and they amaze me every day because they can go lower. It's unbelievable. Keith, God bless you, and Nancy, thank you for calling in this morning. Appreciate it.
You bet.
All right.
And you stay out of the basement.
Okay. Have a great day, my friend. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Sean, could we please have a good word for the Silver State Stampede?
Nevada's oldest rodeo, the Silver State Stampede, roars into the Elko County Fairgrounds July 10, 11, and 12. This PRCA-sanctioned rodeo brings you the thrill of pro riders going head-to-head in one of the world's toughest sports, rodeo.
The action kicks off Friday evening with a delicious tri-tip dinner for just $10. Old West bronc ride, mutton busting, PRCA rodeo action, and the always popular Ring of Fear. Dance the night away to the music of the Moonshine Outlaws, and on Saturday, show your support with Tough Enough to Wear Pink. Round out the weekend with Family Day Sunday evening, the best family entertainment this side of the Rio Grande, the Silver State Stampede, July 10, 11, and 12 at the Elko County Fairgrounds. The Silver State Stampede will be following all of the Nevada governor's directives, Nevada United Roadmap to Recovery Plan, as well as the CDC guidelines. The safety of everyone is our top priority.
Thank you very much. And right now, I also want to remind you about Dino Septic Service. We are so blessed to have them on the air. And I never will forget the first time we used them over here. I said, hey, you ought to be on my radio program. And they have been ever since. All the septic tank pumping and the liquid waste removal, septic inspections, water and sewer lines installed, the best tobacco services. They are there to serve you. Here's the numbers to call for fast, fair-friendly service from Dino Septic Service, 436-6526 or 678-1638. Remember to work with the best. They care, and they do a great job. Dino's Septic Service. A couple of things I want to touch on this morning before we get heavy into a lot of this news that took place. A friend of mine passed away, and caller, stand by. I'm going to be right with you. I had an opportunity to work with this man at about 2 or 3 different occasions. I've had the opportunity to sit down and have a cup of coffee and breakfast with him and visit about music, visit with him about life and his conservative politics that were like mine, and I'm talking about Charlie Daniels. Charlie Daniels absolutely was, in my opinion, one of the nicest, most humble, and polite people that I've ever been around, and he passed away at 83 years of age. And believe me, the Charlie Daniels Band, with of course the song that shot him skyward in popularity, and also a song that stays on top, and that's The Devil Went Down to Georgia, performed at the White House. He's been at the Super Bowl, toured throughout Europe, and often went overseas to tour and entertain our troops. And I just want to say to Charlie Daniels' family, even though they probably aren't listening, I absolutely will miss him. He was one of the best entertainers of all time. Charlie Daniels, great, great musician. Caller, I'll be right there. Another note that has to be said quickly. Adrian called me yesterday and was asking about why didn't Rhode Island send a representative to the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia in 1787. Well, I looked that up, and they were afraid that the convention would create a new set of laws that would give too much power to the national government. And the Rhode Islanders were right. Yes, they were. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning. Okay, on Charlie Daniels, I know this guy very well.
Yes.
As far as what's going on now, if we don't put a stop to Antifa and this other bunch, this country is going to end up being divided into so many different countries. And the only ones that are going to make out on it is China and Russia. They're just sitting in the background waiting for this country to collapse.
Yep. And I'll tell you something, Tony, I was absolutely happy with a smile on my face hearing that the governor of Georgia said enough yesterday, absolutely enough, and he's calling up the National Guard. He is saying no more riots, no more mobs, no more shootings, no more burnings, enough, and it's time to bloody some noses and clean up Dodge City. That's paraphrasing for the state of Atlanta and especially Atlanta, or pardon me, the state of Georgia and especially Atlanta. It's time to get tough.
Why do so many people wait so long and allow so much destruction going on before they call the shock troops?
I don't know. I mean, this has got completely out of hand. I don't care if it's Seattle. I don't care if it's Washington, D.C. I don't care if it's Chicago. I don't care if it's Atlanta. This thing is like a cancer that is spread all over this nation. It's got to stop. Heads have got to be, let's say, popped a little bit so that they get the message, and we need to clean this mess up.
Well, pretty soon, if it continues the way it is, the white race is going to be subservient to people like Antifa and Black Lives Matter.
All I'm saying is that I'm sick of the racism. I'm sick of the color of the skin dictating as to what the riots are or aren't. And I just want to get back to a society where we can all sit down at a table together, have a lemonade, iced tea, or any other adult beverage, and get along. Tony, God bless you, and Mary, thank you for your call.
Okay, thank you.
God bless you. Thank you. Caller, I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody about a great place to go eat. Yes, I'm talking about the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, Denny's Restaurant. And we've had a lot of calls as to when the July Lunch Bunch will be, and we are looking at July 23rd. Thursday, July 23rd. Okay, there you have it. Put that on your calendar. Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner at 611 North Overland in Burley. And they've got another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. I'm talking good, delicious food. I'm talking about menu choices that'll knock your boots off delicious for breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime, all the time, all the desserts. Great people serving you at Denny's Restaurant. You better believe it. America's Diner. We'll see you at Zeb's Lunch Bunch on July 23rd. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, I am really tired of this Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Look at over the weekend. My heart goes out to those parents of those children that were flat out murdered this weekend.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, purple, orange, brown, blue. We all bleed the same. We all bleed the same color. And until we get back to one nation under God, we get what we deserve.
We've thrown God away. We've thrown God away.
Yes, and we've taken him out of the schools. Now they're telling, I think it was in California, they said that the churches couldn't sing. What the heck?
Yeah.
Where do they come off thinking that they can tell us how to live?
You know, Donna, you've touched on something I want to elaborate on a little bit this morning. I have said, and boy, it's really upset some people in this community, which is fine. I have said that there are a lot. I didn't say all. I said there are a lot of churches and ministers and church leaders that are very, very cowardly and will not stand up and address the issues that are affecting all the communities across this country, including our own. And when the government in California and Governor Gavin Newsom ban singing in a house of worship on Sunday, it's past time to tell that government and the governor, you know where they can go because it's mentioned many times in the Bible.
You're right. And you know, this crap of playing Black Lives Matter national anthem, you know, to my recollection, this is still America. We have one flag. We have one national anthem that covers all races and ethnicities. Why do we have to be so divided? Why do we have to blame whites and blacks for everything that's happening? I don't know. I'm so frustrated. I hate watching the news anymore.
Well, I know, but Donna, wait a minute. You said something that's very important. You said you hate watching the news anymore, but that is a problem that we need to make sure we don't stop. We need to be aware of what's going on. We need to be cognizant of all the problems out there, because if you bury your head in the sand or elsewhere, that is how these problems grow like a cancer. I had a guy come up to me a couple of months ago. Actually, it was probably in the wintertime, and said, well, I'm sick of listening to all that stories of the bad and the ugly in the news. I'm not going to listen to you anymore. And I said, that's fine. You live in your little Alice in Wonderland and see how much good you are to helping society try to right these wrongs. We cannot bury the problems.
Oh, no, I totally agree. I still watch the news. It just makes me sick every time I turn it on. There's nothing positive anymore. It's all negative. It's all violence. You know, the governor of Georgia has my utmost respect for finally coming to the realization that he needed help, or she, whatever.
Yeah.
And called in the National Guard. I think all these states that are having all these problems need to follow suit. Bring the National Guard or the Army or whatever in and annihilate these violent, not the peaceful, but the violent criminals that are infiltrating our society.
They are paid agitators, and I am fed up like you of listening to the news and watching the news. I got to tell you that I am not very thick-skinned when I watched the video of the man that was holding the little girl's hand crossing the street, and a car pulls up and the window goes down and a guy sticks a pistol out the window and shoots the grandpa that's holding the hand of the little 6-year-old girl. And the little 6-year-old girl, when her grandpa hit the deck and just absolutely laid there, she didn't know what to do. I mean, life is so precious, and to see it snuffed out by vermin in our society, it sickens me.
Oh, yeah, me too. I cried. It's like that poor little girl. I mean, she's going to be traumatized for the rest of her life. Oh,
absolutely.
And, you know, like I said earlier, my heart goes out. My heart bleeds for these parents that have lost their children this weekend. And you know what? The funny part of it is, and I don't mean to sound racist or anything else, but it's black on blacks killing these children.
Yeah. And the other picture that will stay in my mind's eye for the rest of my life was a 18-month-old little boy that was had a baseball uniform on, and he had a little plastic bat. Maybe you saw his picture. And he was looking up at his mother when she shot the picture with a huge, great big smile on his face, and he was shot. Then another little girl shot in the head at a party. And, I mean, the list goes on. And it's all so nonsensical. There's no rhyme or reason as to why this is happening. And I'm going to add something to that as a caveat, my dear lady. The left is saying the best way to stop all this problem is to have a purging of all weapons. And I'll tell you what, right now, with the cutback on police and the defunding of police, if you think for 5 seconds, and I only give you 3 seconds, actually, that I'm going to get rid of my guns and not be able to protect myself, my wife, and my property, you're absolutely crazy. I'm not giving up mine. I can tell you that.
Oh, no, we won't give up ours either. What about the man and woman who stood up to Antifa?
Yes, absolutely.
The prosecutor is looking to prosecute them for defending their family and their home.
Yep.
That's a crock.
This shows how warped our society is becoming because of the left so-called values, which there aren't values. Donna, you and George, God bless you. Dear friends, thank you so much.
You betcha, my friend. Have a great day.
Thank you. We'll take that next call in just a minute. I want to remind you, Oakley Pioneer Days. You know, every year, Oakley Pioneer Days gets bigger and better. This year, they're going to start on the 10th, and they're going to go all the way through the 18th. Holy moly. And they've got all kinds of fun, like July 10 and 11 this weekend. They've got the 12th annual Bump and Rub Car Race. It gets a little bit nastier than NASCAR, let me tell you. And then, of course, they're going to have gymcanas and rodeos, and they're going to have all kinds of fireworks, and they're going to have great food, always great food up at Oakley. And then, of course, on Pioneer Day, on the 18th, they're going to have that great big Pioneer Day parade. Holy cow, fun for everybody at Oakley Pioneer Days, July 10th through the 18th. Don't you miss it in Oakley, Idaho. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, you see, Zeb, the number of people or number of guns that have been purchased, I think in June broke all-time record for gun purchases because people realize if the police are gone, you're on your own, like that St. Louis couple. I mean, they realized if they hadn't had those guns, why, they would have burned that place down. I'm serious. They knew it, too. And they were going to kill their dog and burn their house down. But, I don't know, he had an AK-47 and she had a pistol. And it became a big deterrent to anybody that come in there. But, you know, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, you know. And the old saying is, when outlaws, guns are outlawed, only outlaws in and out of government are going to have guns.
I don't care, Adrian, just a minute. I don't care if they had a doggone Daisy BB gun and a Crossman pellet rifle. I don't care what kind of gun they had. I absolutely admire them for having the tenacity and the courage to stand up to that mob that had broken through a wrought iron gate. It was a locked gate and came onto private property. I admire them and I salute them for standing up to a bunch of Black Lives Matter mobsters that were out there to do only harm and injustice. God bless that couple in St. Louis.
Well, yeah, absolutely, Zeb. And, of course, these people were supporters of Black Lives Matter. That's what was ironic, and they called the police. But the police are told to stand down. Just let them do their thing.
Yeah.
See, this is what's really scary. Not only defund the police, but those that control the police tell them, just let it happen. So this is really scary. But fortunately, in this county, the Sheriff Carter, I just had a visit with him when they had that meeting to pay tribute and support the police last Wednesday in Twin Falls City Park. I talked with Sheriff Carter, and he realizes that he stands between, he's our representative for this county, for this area, and if he capitulates to the feds, then we're done. And he understands that quite well, and I think that's great to have that kind of a support from our sheriff, because if the sheriff is the most important elected office we have.
Absolutely.
And if he does not stand for the Constitution, stand for our rights, our Bill of Rights, and our Second Amendment rights included, of course, then we're in trouble, Sam.
Well, I had on my program, I had Minidoka County Sheriff Eric Snar, and then I also had Cassia County Sheriff Jay Heward, and both of them, too, I know, would stand up as a protectionist device for all of us. And the sheriff is extremely important. The sheriff is extremely important in being the commander of that respective county. It's not the federal government, it's the sheriff. And it's about high time that we got behind our law enforcement and acted in support.
Oh, absolutely. But we need to still be ready. The Japanese were going to invade this country. Then they found out that we were locked and loaded. Come on. We're ready for you, folks.
Yeah.
And so, but this whole looting and all this destruction of property and so forth, what this is all about, and defunding the police, they want a national police force. This is what they want. And this is why Trump has been reluctant to send in the troops, because it would set a precedent for his predecessor.
Yeah.
And, if you have a problem in Twin Falls, you can't put them down. You just send in the federal troops.
Yeah.
This is what they want. They want a national police force. They want to do away with the authority of the sheriff and the local police. And it's pretty scary stuff what they're doing.
I agree.
Some speech at Friday night was just absolutely phenomenal. I've been to Mount Rushmore at least a half a dozen times. And if you haven't been there, folks, put it on your bucket list. You need to go there.
I got to run, Adrian, but thank you very much. Thank you for calling in. And again, I agree with everything you said. Thank you, sir. God bless. Have a wonderful day and keep up the fight. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
Keep up the fight, too. We got a lot of work ahead of us, but these kids that are out there, these Black Lives Matter, they have no comprehension of what made this country great, and it's certainly not being taught in school, and that's what Trump was bringing out the other night. It's just sad with that.
I agree.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to remain adamant about Black Lives Matter. Parents, listen to me. Please inform your children. Not to just go along to get along with their peer pressure groups, like that silly, absolutely ridiculous march that was held here, 2 weeks ago in Magic Valley for Black Lives Matter. They don't understand. This is a very serious, evil group, Black Lives Matter. They are sinister. They are, of course, connected with Marxist and communist activities and philosophies, and they should not be supported. There. Period. Please pay attention and tell your children. Barry Equipment and Rental Sales Service and Parts, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and, of course, the Napa location. And they've got all the equipment for the lifting and the digging and the pushing and the carrying and the leveling and the laying and sod and everything else. Oh, boy, they've got everything. And super finance programs to buy, great lease programs. What are you waiting for? I mean, all the Bobcats, all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators, all the trenchers, all the scissor lifts, everything at Barry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and Napa. You stop in and see those really good people today. I want to go on a little bit about churches. There's no way that there should be a capitulation or any kind of kowtowing to government regulations at all in regards to your worship service. If they make a ban on singing in California, and for some strange remote reason, our governor might say, well, gee, yeah, maybe there shouldn't be singing in our churches here. No. That's against the Constitution and against the law. Stand up for what is right. And pay no attention to the idiocy of what government is telling you. Absolutely, there is not in the First Amendment anything that says the government can regulate a church service or tell you not to sing. No. And I'm so glad that people in California are fighting back. Here's what this stupid, silly, frivolous nut Governor Newsom in California said. Places of worship must therefore discontinue singing and limit indoor attendance to 25% of the building. Well, to Governor Newsom, bring it on, big boy, because we're going to go to church and we're going to sing. And I'm so glad that a lot of the church leaders down there said, no, we're not going to pay a bit of attention to Governor Newsom. And by the way, read your Bible, folks. Acts 5, verse 29 says we must obey God rather than any human authority. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, I really admire President Trump's attitude toward the, I don't know exactly how to put it, but where he's turned these things over to the governors of each state. In other words, he's letting each state kind of make their own rules. Mm-hmm. I'm so glad that we have a government that does that.
Well, yeah, we not only a government, but a president that understands the pecking order, if you will. But it's high time, Keith, for like the governor in Georgia to say, okay, that's it. Slam his fist down on the desk, shake the microphone, and say, no more. We're going to bring in the National Guard. If you're out there causing problems, you are going to be arrested. If you continue en masse to cause problems, we are going to run over you like a bug. It has to stop. This idiocy is spreading like a cancer all across this country. I've read and talked to various people in the news agencies back east that are very concerned that there's going to be a major assault on various political statements and statues like Mount Rushmore, George Washington. Let me just give you something that drives me nuts. This woman is Senator Tammy Duckworth, and she is a Democratic senator from Illinois. And I want to really tell everybody how basically stupid this woman is. She said Americans should really consider removing monuments like George Washington, the first president of the United States. Keith, there's never been a person born without faults. There's never been a perfect person except Jesus himself. And I am sick and tired for all the good that was spread through society by George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Christopher Columbus, you name it. And we're now going to hide them because of a few warts that they had in their personality. We all have warts on our personality.
It's all a matter of rewriting history.
Yes.
You can't rewrite history if you have all these monuments that remind him. So if we can get rid of all those, then they're free to write whatever way they want.
I watched the speech the other night, President Trump at Mount Rushmore. And I got to tell you, people don't agree with me, I couldn't care less. I thought that the speech was the best speech that Donald Trump has ever given as president, bar none. I felt that he was giving it from the heart. And absolutely, we have to get back to being a proud nation. And we have to get rid of this hate America attitude that is becoming like a cancer in our schools. It's got to stop. We've got to take back the pride in America.
How can we expect people to take pride in America and everything when the New York Times puts those headlines on their worst speech of ever, and, they try to influence you to go the new route.
Why was it a worst speech ever? Why? Why did the New York Times say something that was so buffoonish as saying it was the worst speech ever when it was a speech saying that we've got to come together as a union. We've got to come together as a people. We have to get back to restoring pride and family values and values in our business, ethics in our work, ethics in our everyday life. Why was that a bad speech?
It was not. And if we will read our Bible and everything, we'll discover that I think it was destined for President Trump to be president at this time.
And I certainly hope it continues in November, and I'm very worried about it. Keith, again, thank you for your call. God bless. Thank you. Thank you.
You are really welcome.
Thank you, sir. Caller, good morning. I'm mad. Tread lightly. Go ahead.
Good morning, Tim. I thought that was a fabulous speech. And the governor of South Dakota, she did a fabulous job. And I would just encourage people, we all carry a computer right in our hands. Just go to YouTube, Google it, watch it. There's so much great information out there. We need to focus on the positive. We need to listen to him ourselves. We need to be praying for him. But more so, we need to educate ourselves on what is really going on and stop with all the distractions and focus on where we're headed.
Well, you can see where we're headed, and I think that it kind of equivalates, honestly, to the song that Charlie Daniels made very famous, The Devil Went Down to Georgia, The Devil Went to Hell, and that's exactly what's going on in this country. We're on a real fast freeway to hell and a complete breakup of the greatest country ever on the face of the earth if we keep going the way we're going.
Yes. And I have always been told that the Constitution will not be saved by the government. It will be saved by the people. We as the people need to wake up. We've been spoiled for so long, had it good for so long. We need to start educating ourselves and standing up and speaking out.
They're right there, Pat, right there. Stop. Those are the key words. You can't just turn into my program in the morning and expect me to carry the ball for everybody. You've got to jump in. Everybody's got to be a voice. Everybody's got to shout and say, enough of this garbage is enough. You've hit it right there. People have got to stand up, speak out, and do something. It's this lackadaisical attitude that's causing the problem at cities all across America because people aren't doing anything.
Exactly. And I believe the virus is real. I believe in that, but I believe all this social distancing, we can't gather, we can't be together. I believe it is a form of shutting the people down and not allowing them to get together and speak and share ideas.
Absolutely.
And I would encourage everyone to start educating themselves. I try to talk to people and show them where I'm looking, where I'm finding things, where I find good information. We need to band together.
Amen. Absolutely. And you know what? I can still talk pretty doggone loud through a mask.
Well, yes, and so could I, but I'm not going to wear one. I spent too much money on these teeth.
Pat, God bless you. Thank you much.
God bless America. I appreciate everything you do, and we got to stand up and we got to fight forward.
There you go. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you. Caller, I need to do a weather forecast. Can you just hang tough for just 60 seconds? I'll be right with you, I promise. Stay tuned. I want to remind you our weather is brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And oh my goodness, they are so knowledgeable when it comes to your hearing health, led by their Dr. Christine Pickup. Oh, that lady knows. She knows all about what needs to be done and how. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And I urge you to call the number and make an appointment if you've noticed any diminishment in your hearing. 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Milder temperatures for today, but still warming up for the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies, a little bit of a breeze out of the west at about 10 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 77. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 50. Tomorrow, sunny skies with a high of 80, overnight low of 52. We are expecting a high of 88 for Thursday, under sunny skies by Friday, 87. And then as we look ahead towards Saturday and Sunday, it looks like we're going to be in the 90s. That's a look at your weather for Zebra Duran.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Ooh, they're good. They're good. They've helped me. They can help you with your hearing problems. Don't forget expert diagnostic testing combined with the best technology. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. 312-0957. Caller, good morning, and thank you for your patience.
Good morning, Zeb. I just turned my radio on about 10, 15 minutes ago, but I think a lot of this deal is people are...
I have no idea why we're hearing music over you, but go ahead, Riley. I'm sorry, you were kind of covered by a music there a little bit. Go ahead.
Sorry, someone hijacked my computer.
Well, tell whoever hijacked it to leave their hands off of it.
What I'm saying is I feel that there's the people themselves, there are people who will stand together, but I feel that some of them need a leader, and the problem about that is they got to find a leader within themselves and within their groups. They can't just depend on Zeb Bell or me or anybody else to be that leader. They need to stand up and do it themselves.
Amen.
And as far as the mask thing goes, I'm hard of hearing. And I did go see Mount Harrison, but I washed my daggum hearing aid here last week, and I haven't got it replaced. But the mask, I go into a store, and for me, when I travel around, I go to these truck stops and have these masks on, or I'm trying to order something, I cannot hear them, and I rely on sight. I didn't realize just how much I depended on reading people's lips, reading their words coming out of their mouth. My wife didn't either. She don't even wear hearing aids. And the masks kind of take that away. That
yeah.
You can't. It's harder.
Yeah.
It really is. And she's not deaf. I'm the one with the hearing problem in the family. And so when I go somewhere, most people are really obliging, and they'll take their mask off so I can read their words because they can tell that I'm trying to understand it.
Yeah.
There are a few people who are the most arrogant, snobbish, stuck-up people that look at you, and a couple people have commented on the fact that I'm not wearing a mask, and I just tell them, mind your own business, and
yeah.
I'll mind mine.
Well, what you're saying, I really hadn't thought of that before, Riley, but it's really the truth. When you look at somebody in the eye and you're speaking to them and you can see the speech pattern of their lips and their lips moving, you can understand and perceive a lot easier what they're saying so that you can hear and understand it better. Your point is extremely well taken this morning. Thank you.
Yep, have a good day.
All right, sir. God bless you. That's a good point. Hadn't thought of that. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm telling you, I am absolutely going to be the wrecking ball to what the government is trying to do and what the left is trying to do. Can you imagine? Come on, folks, think about this. There is not one single thing, not one single item that Joe Biden and whoever his running mate is going to be if he selects one on the Democratic ticket. Look at the devastation that they're promoting. My goodness, we're going to be talking in about 10-15 minutes with Dan Kish, the American Energy Alliance, at 9:06 about the Green New Deal and how absolutely expensive it's going to be for all of us if the Democrats get in power. And he, Biden, names that little girl that knows nothing, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as the energy czar. It has been estimated, and please, it's not me doing the estimating. It's not me doing the calculation. It is a group of professional people that said, wait a minute. If they employ this idiocy of the Green New Deal, it's going to cost, are you ready for this? Hold on to your chair, buckwheat. It's going to cost American families per household about $75,000 per year. Grasp that. Hang on. The bus is leaving. Look out. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And the policies, like Joe Biden, and I'm going to condemn and damn him for this. He said that if he's elected president, that he is going to force biological males to be on female sports teams. Later this morning, we're going to have Senator Mary Souza on my program, and she is a major player in protecting girls' sports here in the state of Idaho. And by golly, I'm proud of her and Barbara Ehart and our governor for signing those bills that he did to protect girls' sports and keep the transgender males off the teams. I can see where my blood pressure is going to go higher and higher during the course of the day. While I am waiting for your call, I'm also going to acknowledge and thank our great folks at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely. Now, you need new tires for your car, pickup, SUV, horse trailer, boat trailer, whatever. Well, you're not sure what kind you need. You're not sure about the tread design. You're not sure about this, that, or the other. All of the locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, they know tires. They've graduated in the School of Tireology. And boy, they can tell you what tires are going to best befit your driving circumstances. So get in there today and check it out. Along with that, the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, everything, but always the best in service. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes in Twin Falls, the Twist family in Paul, and Trent on Overland in Burley. He's going to be on the air tomorrow morning. And they all represent your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I have time for one more call this hour. Give me a jingle on the landline at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And sure like to hear from you. I had another little story I was going to talk about. And, this ninny back in Chicago. Well, we'll get to that a little bit later. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again. When you were talking about Charlie passing on, I had the opportunity to meet him in Jackpot, Nevada. we were having the dealers convention down there, and he was a great entertainer. But the thing that I loved about him the most is he went out and mingled with the crowd.
Yes.
He was really something.
Yep.
And the way he would do his fiddle, and he'd break those strings, and then he would pass them out.
Yeah. I got to tell you,
I mean, this guy was a human being.
Yeah, he was a funny guy, and he was a very humble and personable fella. I got to tell you real quick, one time way back when I was announcing the rodeo at Sikeston, Missouri. And the rodeo's held in August, and I got to tell you the story real quick. And it's hotter than back in Sikeston, Missouri in the summertime. And the morning of the second performance, Charlie was walking down the parking lot to his bus wearing his knee-high mule-top boots, a pair of Bermuda shorts, a basketball shirt, and his wide-brimmed hat. Now, that's quite a sight for Charlie Daniels.
It certainly is.
I got to run, but Keith, God bless you for your call. Thank you so much.
You bet.
All right.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I yelled at him. I says, Charlie, are you ready for the hot weather? Oh, I'm headed for the golf course, he said. I'll bet he really made an appearance on that golf course. Hey, I got to run, but we're going to take a little break right now for about 7 minutes. I'll be right back. Zeb at the Ranch. Oh, brother, face mask, mandatory? No, I'll wear one when I go into a business. Naturally, I want to protect myself, and I want to protect others. If I had anything that I don't want to pass on to someone else. But mandatory, thou shalt wear this the minute you walk out your door, don't push it. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch, and sponsored by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you in a very safe, clean environment, and, of course, the best in tires. And our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
If you've got a gathering coming up and a big picnic or some kind of a group party or barbecue, whatever the fact might be, you might be in the city park, you might be going to some area, whatever, make sure you got the porta potties lined up. That's the most important thing. Call Western Waste Services. They can provide those porta potties. They've got them in all different shapes and sizes. They've got handicapped accessible porta potties, all of this and more. Find out. Call them 734-6969. Always at your disposal. Western Waste Services. Really nice people. Talking about nice people, that leads me right into some folks that have been on our program for a long, long time. And that's, of course, Joel Heward, family and staff over at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Now, they are there with flexible hours. The family lives there, and they're always there to serve you, of course, and your family with the best possible support and comfort when there's the passing of a loved one. And remember this, too, very important, always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. And during a very difficult time, they are there to help and serve you. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. One other quick note that I need to get on before I go to my guest. I'm a little bit overrun this morning, so I've got to get this on. I want to remind everybody about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, and they're located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. If you are injured or you're recouping from a surgery, they are the place for you to go because they've got excellent physical therapists that know all the exercises. They know how to help you get back to being you. They've got that hydrotherapy pool, the only one of its kind in the area. I urge you to call and make an appointment. 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Let's go to the phone line right now. And my dear friend with the American Energy Alliance, good morning, Dan Kish. How are you?
Hey, Zeb, I'm well. I hope you had a great 4th and your listeners did as well.
I did. I got to tell you, Dan, it was one of the nicest weekends that we've had in a long time. When I quit rodeoing and retired 3 years ago, and I had not been home for the 4th of July for 49 years. And so it's kind of a real treat to spend time doing nothing but maybe sipping on an adult beverage or maybe eating some homemade ice cream.
Well, that sounds like good Americana to me.
Okay. Dan, I just got a report here about 3-4 days ago from a group called Competitive Enterprise Institute. And they have kind of shaken the leaves off the tree regarding the cost of what the Green New Deal would be to per households across the United States. And I about fell over. Honestly, I could not believe this. They said that per household, if the Green New Deal is implemented in the perhaps Biden administration with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, it could cost homeowners $75,000 per year. Wow. What are your thoughts?
Well, CEI does good work. We work very closely with them, and I think my thoughts are it's crazy. Not the fact that they've reported it, but the fact that anybody would contemplate such things. But I think they did a good job of assessing exactly what the various costs are on this. This stuff is crazy, but we're living in crazy times. I mean, a federal judge in Washington yesterday ordered the shutdown of a pipeline that carries almost 50% of the oil from North Dakota to refineries and ordered that it be drained. This was a pipeline, the Dakota Access Pipeline, that was built after the Obama administration tried to stop it. The Trump administration, President Trump, one of the first things he did was okay this pipeline. It was the one with all the. It's where Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez got her start in community organizing. She went out there and protested. Remember the big mess? They had piles of garbage, and they were dumping stuff in the river. And there were rapes and assaults and all kinds of stuff. It was just a big hoedown for the left. Every misfit you could have. It's sort of like a lot of these demonstrations going on, and they're all basically the same sorts of people. And meanwhile, Americans sit back and say, well, you know, we need to protect the environment and all the rest. Well, these people don't care about protecting the environment. When they establish a camp, you know, I grew up as a Boy Scout. You always leave the campground cleaner and you left than when you came. And that's just common sense and good godly principles, frankly, stewardship. But these people, so-called environmentalists, leave a terrible mess that the taxpayers in North Dakota and the United States had to pay for to clean up. Well, and yet some federal judge appointed by President Obama shuts down the pipeline, says you have to drain it.
Well, wait a minute, Dan, you are so smart on all this stuff. As a matter of fact, you must have looked at my notes this morning from back there in the East Coast. You must have perceived what I was going to ask you about, and this is one of the topics. Where did this federal judge, I guess this is kind of a naive question, where did he get the power to do this and supersede what was already put into action and legal?
Well, the way our courts work, they can determine whether or not the law has been carried out properly according to their view of life. And I mean, theoretically, they should follow that very closely, but they don't. They go off on tangents and they do things. And whatever. This guy has a long history of doing this sort of thing. And yet he's been rewarded in the Washington swamp. He's also on the FISA courts. He's considered, the FISA courts are the ones that ignored the fact that they were being lied to regarding General Flynn and the ability for the Obama administration to spy on Americans, which is part of the whole Russian hoax deal, and he was appointed to that as well. He's not only a federal judge, but that's who makes those up. So he's very concerned about the proper procedures being conducted by the Corps of Engineers, which issues permits for this, and therefore shuts down the pipeline. But when he's lied to, which has been proven now, by high government officials and issues warrants against people, in the case of this is the sort of nonsense that's going on in Washington. And I'm telling you, President Trump has been trying his best to drain the swamp, but it is a deep swamp. It's bubbling up. There's all kinds of nasty, rotten creatures in those putrid waters of the swamp, and it's something, Zeb. I've never seen anything like it, but I always knew it was there, but I've never seen it exposed as much, which is a good thing. But in the meantime, those folks in North Dakota who make their living producing that oil that's so important to our economy just got a blow to the solar plexus from some silver spoon. Went to all the right schools, knows the right way to hold a teacup and the right cocktail parties to go to, but knows nothing about people's lives, nothing about, frankly, the law, and seems dedicated only to wreaking havoc with the position that he's been given by President Obama.
Okay, but wait a minute. How do we supersede this guy? How do we take his checkers off the checkerboard? How do we go around him? How do we, the people, those first three words of our Constitution, how do we, the people, tell him he's a jackass and we need to knock him out of Dodge City? What do we do? How do we do it? What do we have to do to make these people understand they can't destroy the values of American society?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, obviously, this thing will be appealed. They will appeal this because, and to a set of judges who will also look at it, and we'll see what happens with respect to that. But ultimately, it all goes back to somebody voted for these judges. The Senate voted for these judges. Now, President Trump has appointed a lot of judges, but there's a lot left over. And this particular judge was one of the ones who was appointed after Senator Harry Reid from Nevada changed the rules of the Senate when he was running it, when the Democrats were in control, and basically stuffed the court with a bunch of Obama liberals in Washington, D.C., and this is what we're getting. So, that's why these judgeships are so important. It takes time. I mean, it's very frustrating because I mean, we know the impact on the country, but there are families right now who have been thrown into a peril in North Dakota because their livelihood has just been done away with, basically, by some guy in Washington who's never seen a pipeline in his life.
Well, okay, but what about the product? Let me kind of take this in a step-graded process here. What about the product itself? I mean, where does it go? What happens to it? Does it stay in limbo? Is it in tanks in North Dakota? I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah. Well, what happens immediately, think about it this way. Think about what would happen if, I assume most of the grain is taken out of Idaho by barge and a lot by barge, right?
Yes, up the Columbia River to the coast of Portland. And, of course, your truck and barge traffic is extremely important.
Right. Well, think about if a judge said no more barge traffic and either truck or train traffic, somebody else would have to move it. Now, the cost that the farmers would get for that would be reduced by the amount of the increased cost of transporting it.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, you're still paying for your fuel, you're still paying for your water, you're still paying for your fertilizer if you use it, and everything else, all of your input costs, but now you're getting a lot less because some judges said that you can't transport your grain by barge. That's what's happening to the people in North Dakota who produce oil. So all of a sudden their costs are the same for getting it out of the ground, but the amount they get goes way down because this guy just said. So what's going to happen is they're going to try to move the oil by train car. Burlington Northern Railroad, which is owned by Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett, and they're going to try to move it by trucks, both of which are much more environmentally potentially damaging than a pipeline.
Absolutely.
Especially a brand new pipeline with the latest state-of-the-art things built in. And so what the judge is saying is it's safer to put oil on train cars and trucks and run them up and down the rails and up and down the roads than it is to keep this pipeline going that feed these refineries, principally in the Midwest. North Dakota, this pipeline runs down into the Midwest and feeds the refineries that provide the gasoline, jet fuel, heating oil, you name it, diesel for people in the Midwest.
What are the chances? You know, I'm sitting here, and I got to tell you that I'm just fuming over this idiocy that's going on with the left in this country. But, Dan, where have we lost our power? I mean, I'm not trying to be facetious at all. We, the people, have lost our power. If I don't like something or somebody, it seems like, if I don't like a politician, naturally I will not vote for him again, and I'm going to do all I can to get him run out of office. But we are being overrun by stupid politicians that have a ideology that they want to impose on us, and we've lost our power. Where did it go? How did we lose it?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it's been lost as the media has become more and more corrupt in this country, for one thing. They just don't report things that they don't want to talk about. They report only the things they want to talk about. That's why we see the stories they choose that make us sick. But, you know, this is why, frankly, this is part of the reason President Trump was elected. There was a whole lot of people who got very upset with the way things were headed. They didn't like the direction of the country. And of course, my word, we're having all kinds of problems now, much of it fomented and accentuated by politics of an election year. But the fact of the matter is, for a pretty long time there, we were rolling. This country we were building stuff. We were able to get jobs back from China. We were able to move things around. We were looking forward, trying to build the America that we wanted and the kids. But ultimately it's going to take a long haul to get things back on an even keel. These people have been they've been educating our kids. I mean, the president said it the other day to hate America in our schools and our colleges, certainly, for almost 2 generations now, Zeb. Everybody's been kind of looking the other way and saying, geez, you don't want to get a conversation with that person. They're going off the rails or whatever. But they're coming out in the droves. And if their heads are filled with garbage, you get garbage. And that's basically what's been going on. It scares the bejesus out of me, to be honest with you.
Well, it should, and I'm so glad I had you on the air to discuss that situation, because you're the most knowledgeable of anybody as to what's going on and what the after effects going to be. But I want to tie this into this next election. How do we, and sometimes I go to bed at night and I wonder, what more can I do to inform the public how sinister, evil, and stupid the left is, from Joe Biden's possibility of becoming president and his administration that might be encumbered with the likes of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Elizabeth Warren and others. What more can we do to tell the public that this is absolutely the highway to hell and bankruptcy if we voted Democrat in this fall?
Well, I'll tell you, Zeb, I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. The fact of the matter is I'm not too worried about your audience. I've heard their questions and heard them and know where they're coming from in terms of common sense and hard work and belief in America. And, despite all our faults and warts and everything else, just like a family, you've got them. But by golly, at the end of the day, you work on making that family stronger, and
yes,
and, that's what good Americans want to do, as opposed to tearing it down, literally, which is what they're doing now in many of these big cities and things. And my guess is a lot of Americans are sitting back and saying, this is out of control. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Some of the costs of these things, like shutting down the pipeline right now, are hidden from the public because it takes a while to sink in, and because our economy's been dealt a blow because of this COVID. But these are all costs that have to be paid. The piper's gonna have to be paid at some point. So,
absolutely.
Keep doing what you're doing. And God bless you for doing it, Zeb.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dan, you're a blessing to this program with your insight as to what's happening, and I just look forward to Tuesdays. And, boy, thank you very much for that very well-explained story about what's going on, and please come back next Tuesday and tell us more. My dear friend Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance, thank you, sir. Have a great week. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Zeb.
Wow. I mean, that man knows. He knows, and I'm so blessed to have him be a part of the program, Dan Kish. Thank you very much. Whoa, Denny's Restaurant. Don't forget the very best of food, service, and just an enjoyable experience at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. I mean, you love breakfast, you love lunch, you love dinner, you love desserts, all there, all on the menu, and great people serving you with a big smile on their face. They're glad you're there. They thank you for it. So be sure and stop in. It's the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and we gather there once a month and have a great time with Thomas and Michelle of the whole crew at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Yep, it's true. America's Diner. By the way, with the weather forecast as it is, I urge you to stop in to Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Boy, it's going to be nice here in the valley this weekend. Going to be warm, up in the 90s. Want to get up in the hills, get out of Dodge City? I don't blame you. Get on a side-by-side or a four-wheeler and hit the trails and enjoy a great machine from Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. 6. Saturdays 9 to 2, and they've got all the accessories. Yeah, you betcha they got everything for you. And to keep you running, they've got the best doggone service department around. Don't forget, let's ride 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and it is so true. This is where the fun is sold. We're going to be visiting with Pat Laughlin in just a few moments with the Silver State Stampede down in Elko, Nevada, one of the, underline the word, the best rodeos anywhere in the country at Elko, Nevada, and that's coming up this next weekend. And we're going to have him on the program momentarily. I want to remind everybody, too, when you think about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits, don't you dare forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Where are they located? Easy to find, right there on Highway 24 as you make the curve going into Rupert, and the number to call, 436-4424. Todd and the whole crew, they are dedicated to serving you and your needs, so please don't put it off. You do it now. Call them for an appointment at 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really good folks. One more good word, and that good word is about Patterson's Electronics. Oh, my goodness. They've got items and gizmos over there electronically that yours truly doesn't have a clue. I'm just an old cowboy, and I'll tell you what, they've got all the knowledge. They've got everything for you when it comes to home surveillance cameras and video units and home theater systems, all your televisions, your car stereos, and your speakers, all the complete sound systems. I mean, all the monster cables and the power cords. Like I said, they leave me in the dirt when it comes to being knowledgeable about all this. They know and they can help you. Curtis and Lorena, Patterson's Electronics, great people at 421 East Main in Burley. They're open Monday through Saturday 9 to 6. Don't forget, give them a holler on the landline, 678-6997, Patterson's Electronics. Right now, we're going to go via the phone line down to one of my very favorite rodeos of all time, the Silver State Stampede down in Elko, Nevada, and a former top bareback rider and president of the Silver State Stampede, Pat Laughlin. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you doing today?
I am great. The weather forecast is great for the rest of the weekend, and the Silver State Stampede is going to be roaring into Elko this weekend on the 10th, 11th, and 12th. Take it from there and tell us about it.
Well, you know, Zeb, we've been on the board for over 25 years, and I don't think we've ever had to work harder at getting the rodeo going because of the COVID situation, and we've had just about every event that you could imagine that we've had here in this great town of Elko had to, cancel for one reason or another, and we are working real close with the governor's plan on the equine industry. They have a special plan for that. And it's been, I'll tell you, not only an uphill battle, but it's slick too. It's been a long old go, and I just hope that we can get it pulled off. But I was just now talking with our stock contractor, Bar T Rodeo, Jeff Flitton, and he just sent me the day sheets, and our entries are of course up because guys are trying to get to rodeos. There aren't many rodeos either, but I was just looking through some of the names and stuff, and it's like the who's who of the NFR. I mean, we have every past world champion for how many years here, and I'll tell you what, it's gonna be a heck of a show.
I want to just jump in here and say something to you, Pat. You and your committee have been so good to me and my wife over the many, many years that I announced your rodeo. But to what you're having to suffer through with this COVID-19 and all the pitfalls and pratfalls of what's being edicted to you from the government, I commend you for having this event because people still have to live. People cannot live in glass bubbles. This virus is not going to go away. It's going to be with us literally forever in mutant forms. And God bless you and the committee at the Silver State Stampede for saying people have got to get out. They've got to enjoy life, and you're going to go ahead with this event.
Yeah, you bet. That's kind of one of the driving forces behind the whole thing. You know, it would have been real easy to just cancel. I mean, it would have just been so easy to do that. And we had our big board meeting several months ago. Of course, we meet year-round to put this rodeo on. And several months ago, 3 months ago, I put it right on the table. I said, if anybody wants out, now's the time. Because if it's left with just me and my wife and a few of us old-timers on there, I said, we're still going to put on a rodeo. So, but if you want out, it's time to get out. And, you know, we didn't have one person turn and run. They all stood strong.
Absolutely. That's the nature and the personality of your area and your rodeo. Every year that I was there, I mean, you're doing things the cowboy way. And in this time and in this day and age, it's about high time that our government officials and everybody cowboyed up a little bit and realized that we can't live behind closed doors 24/7.
Yeah, you bet. It's you gotta live. You can't just you can't hide in the crawl space of your house, or I sure as heck ain't gonna. So we really fought through it, and we're getting real close to the end here, and we hope something bad doesn't happen, but you know, some emergency thing, and that we're having the rodeo and we're going forward. That's all there is to it.
Well, Pat, let me, if you don't mind me saying this, I am absolutely humbled by what you asked me to be a part of the Silver State Stampede this year, and thank you on behalf of my wife and myself for your great honor of asking me to be the Grand Marshal.
You bet, Zeb. You know, I like to tell the story. Like I said, I've been on the board for over 25 years. Bill Wines got me to be on the board years ago. And we were struggling in those days. You know, we would get done putting on the rodeo, and it was a good rodeo. We did it the right way, but we would have just a handful, a few $1,000s left at the end. I mean, we just struggled and struggled and struggled, and there was two moves that we made for your listeners. One of them was we switched contractors, and we got Barty out of Chester, Utah, to come be our contractor. Bud was alive then, great friends of mine and Bill's. And that was a big turning point, and when we got you to come be our announcer, Zeb.
Well, thank you.
Those were the two things that we did to turn our rodeo around, and our purses have doubled since then. Our crowds are so big we don't even have room for them all. And it's just gotten to be a better and better and better rodeo every year. But that was the turning point. I just like to make sure all the listeners out there know that's the real story.
Well, thank you very much for your very kind remarks, and I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to pull into town. But while we're on the phone, we better tell everybody why they should come down to Elko. I mean, it starts on the 10th. Why don't you give us a day-by-day run as to what's going to happen down there?
You bet, Zeb. Friday's our first performance of the PRC Rodeo. Gates open at 4 o'clock, starts at 7. We have mutton busting before for the kids, and, you know, a big grand entry, and our specialty acts. We've got, we keep getting more and more stuff, and Jeff keeps telling me we're getting too long with the rodeo, and I know. But anyway, we have ranch hand bronc riding from a bunch of the local guys. Actually, we get guys from all over the country because they pay double points for the Ranch Hand Bronc Association to go to their world finals or something like that. So we always have that added in. We have the EH Kappa Riders from Boise. They kind of a drill team. They ride bareback, no bridle, no nothing. They dress up like Native Americans and paint their horses up and ride and do patterns, and they just ride with a collar, and it's a bunch of young kids. And I'll tell you what, they've been here, it's probably several years ago now, but really neat to watch. It's really adds some color and splash to the rodeo. Then, of course, we have the Wild Child barrel man, Troy Lurwell from Utah. He's got his motorcycle, and he sets up his jumps, and he does some really wild things. Let's see, I'm trying to read through my notes here. Apologize. Ranch hand. And then we have the mini bowls.
Mm-hmm.
Also for the kids. We run a section of that every night on Friday. And then, of course, we go on to Saturday. We have the same time, same events, everything. And we started a couple of years ago. We added a performance on a Sunday, a little earlier afternoon, so the shade is in the grandstand's real good. The doors will open about 3 on that, and rodeo time's at 5 o'clock on Sunday. And we get a lot of big names that enter up and come on Sunday because we're like the only rodeo that's really doing anything on Sunday in a lot of this, country.
Right.
Utah, Idaho, and everything. So we get quite a few big-time entries on Sunday. So Sunday, a lot of times, it's not the crowd and as wild and stuff, but it's a little bit more laid back, but you really see a lot of the top riders and ropers on Sunday. So I always like to point that out.
Well, one other thing, too, that I'd like to highlight is that when the bull riding's over, that doesn't mean the action's over, because then every night after the performance, you've got what's called the Ring of Fear and then some great music. Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah, the Ring of Fear. That was started years ago. Myself, Bill Wines, and Louis Field came up with this plan. And we put a big bull ring out there right in front of the grandstands on the racetrack. And we draw 6 individual circles in it. And we draw names out of the hat and put guys in each circle. They go for $500 each night. And we flank a bull. We got a Mexican fighting bull. We flank him. We turn him loose in there. And the last guy in his circle wins the $500. And I'll tell you what, I know people that just come to the rodeo just to watch that.
I can attest to the fact of being there so many years that you'll see a lot of people that you didn't know were that agile and athletic. They sure can climb a fence.
Yeah, you better learn how to climb one real quick when that gets going. So it's been quite an event for us. And then, of course, we have a big dance and stuff down at the world-famous Cowboy Bar after everything. And this year we have a lot of slack, so there'll be a lot of stuff going on in the arenas after the performance and everything, and then we'll have the entertainment down on the other end, and it kind of just keeps, if you like to stay out late, it just kind of keeps going.
You know, Pat, you talk a lot about the Cowboys, and I know you're going to get a ton of them as far as really good, big-named, well-known cowboys and cowgirls, but I think we should highlight some of the stock, because I can guarantee you that the Bartee Rodeo Company, with their broncs and bulls, you're going to be hard-pressed to find anybody any better.
You bet. We've had them for quite a few years now, and they just bring such good stock. And the thing about their bucking horses and their bulls, especially their horses, they're not like you see in some of these, like at the NFR and the Eliminator Pin and some of those kind of things. They're known for their horses that are good to ride. The Cowboys like to come get on them. They're good to spur. They're good to ride. They're honest, and it's a little bit different. You won't see anybody, getting jerked down or bucked off too often, but you'll see some really nice, high-point, beautiful rides. They just got really cowboy-friendly horses. The guys like to get on their horses. They really like that.
Let me ask you a question, Pat. You were a top-notch bareback rider when you were competing. Have the horses changed in any degree to become better, or were they a lot harder to ride back in your day?
The breeding programs now, Zeb, have changed everything. A matter of fact, Bartee, Swanee, and Bud Kirby were one of the very first of contractors in the United States to start a horse breeding program and started breeding bucking horses and buying good mares that bucked and finding studs that would work. And they definitely are a lot bigger and tougher and stronger now. But the Cowboys now are really more of athletes. We used to train and stay in shape, but we spend a little time at the beer stand too. And these guys now, they're serious athletes. And for instance, in the bareback riding, the riggings have changed quite a bit. You see everybody kind of really falling back, but the riggings are built different. They take a lot of the pull out of the horse, although they're still, you still get jerked around, but it's kind of changed a little bit. The bronc riding's kind of stayed the same, but the horses are definitely a lot better, stronger, tougher horses, in my opinion, now than there was in my day.
And, equate that to the bull riding, too, because of the breeding programs. I think of John Growney in California, and, of course, the Kirbys and everybody else with these bull breeding programs. Wow, these are athletes. Yeah,
it's exactly the same thing with the bull. The bulls is the horses. These guys have started breeding them and keeping track, and they trade bulls. They sell semen. I mean, it's become quite a science. I mean, that's why we've gotten these rodeo athletes, these horses and these bulls like they are, is because these guys doing these breeding programs. I mean, it's taking it to another level.
Absolutely. Pat, tell everybody up here tickets. Where can they get tickets and get down to Elko this weekend for the Silver State Stampede?
You bet. If you're going to come, I would sure recommend trying to buy a ticket. Get one early in one of our selling places. I'll give you those in a minute. We will have a little screening process. The hospital is helping us out with that. They'll take your temperature real quick with one of those little things on your temple, and you got to read a couple of questions on a sign so that you know if you feel sick, and we got to do all that. So, there'll be just a little process that we got to go through before you enter. But if you have your ticket already with you, it'll kind of speed that deal up around. That's one of the things we're kind of concerned about is a little bit is getting people in fast enough. But I think we've got a pretty good system set up, and I'm sure we'll have to tweak it a little bit after Friday. But anyway, you can pick up the tickets ahead of time at Jan Capriola's, IFA, the Boot Barn, or Roy's Market.
Okay. And what about if they want to check all the activities online? You've got a website, Silver State Stampede. Is that correct?
You bet. Yeah.
Okay.
We have a website there and then a Facebook page. Everybody seems to like the Facebook page too, and it's Silver State Stampede, whatever.
All right. Well, listen, Pat Laughlin.
We've done a lot of work on that this year. My wife, she's pretty good with that kind of stuff, and so she's really kind of taken that and moved it Facebook page in a direction. And we get a lot of people looking at it to find out what's going on. That's kind of how everybody does things now. They the social media. That's sure the thing.
Absolutely.
One thing I would like to add, Zeb, too, that we were contacted this year by the Cowboy Channel, actually, and we didn't have enough time to get a full-blown rodeo set up for their channel, but they will be live streaming and taking little shots and stuff, and it'll be playing on their channel as the rodeo goes along. And we're hoping that next year, if we'll have enough time, we can turn it into something that they can video or put the whole rodeo, on their channels, just like they do the big ones. They want to start getting out into these rural areas and find these smaller, medium-sized rodeos that, like ourselves, that put on a really good show, but you don't see. Everybody sees the Denvers and the Houstons, but, these little places, we put on a heck of an entertaining rodeo, too. It just might not be as big, but, it'll rival one of those big ones, in fun.
Absolutely. And if I can do anything to help you with the Cowboy Channel and Patrick Gotch, I sure will, because if any rodeo is deserving of national attention, it's the Silver State Stampede in Elko. Pat Laughlin, a dear friend, God bless you. We're going to see you Saturday. I'll be there, I promise.
All right, man. Zeb, it's going to be good to see you in the end.
Take care, my friend.
Just keep our fingers crossed, and we're plowing ahead just like we do here in Elko.
God bless you, man. Pat Laughlin with the Silver State Stampede. A great event, and I applaud each and every one of their board members for standing up and saying, we're going to go ahead, have this rodeo, have this event, have all these activities. People have got to live, and God bless them in Elko, Nevada. I support them 110%. Weather forecast. Holy moly. Let's get the weather on here. Caller, I'll take your call in just a minute. I got to get the weather on, and I'll be right with you. Bear with me, please. Weather brought to you this hour by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. The best of tax return preparation, tax planning, retirement planning, all of this, business consulting, and more with the professionals that really know and understand and can help you, your family, and your business. The professionals. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Milder temperatures for today, but still warming up for the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies, a little bit of a breeze out of the west at about 10 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 77. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 50. Tomorrow, sunny skies with a high of 80. Overnight low of 52. We are expecting a high of 88 for Thursday under sunny skies by Friday, 87. And then as we look ahead towards Saturday and Sunday, it looks like we're going to be in the 90s. That's the look at your weather for Zeb.
Gina, thank you. She does a great job on the weather. I appreciate her. I want to remind you, too, that they can help you and your business. People that are starting a business, partnership or corporation, want to expand your business, please get a hold of the professionals. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. I just want to say congratulations on being Grand Marshal, you and Deanna, and no one is just any more deserving than you and your wife. So congratulations. Enjoy your weekend.
You know, I got to tell you a little funny story about that. Pat called us, it's been about 2 months ago. And he was saying about the advertising for the rodeo, and even though I've retired from actually announcing rodeos all over the country, I do a lot of their advertisements and voiceovers, and he went through all the spiel about what you need to do and how you need to write these commercials up and everything, and then at the end of the conversation he says, oh, by the way, I almost forgot, we want you to be our Grand Marshal, and I broke down in tears. I was so honored. So it's really a treat to go down to Elko this weekend.
Well, congratulations, and you and your wife, please have a good time and be so careful and stay healthy and happy, and we'll all be thinking of you up here, so keep up the good work, Zeb. You deserve it.
No, thank you. You're very kind. God bless you. Thank you so much. That was nice.
You also have a good day.
That was really nice. Thank you. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's just really an honor. I've been so blessed in my career. I'm going to get all bubbly here. I better not do that. So blessed in my career with the national finals many times, and being selected for the Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia, and then being flown over to Spain for the World Equestrian Games, and 30 years at the World Quarter Horse Finals, and all of this type of thing. It's been a blessed career. But then when you have your friends call you and say, we want you to be the Grand Marshal of our rodeo, woo, that really got to me, and it means a lot. Thank you. I want to remind you, too, about Oakley's going to have a big doings. Yes, they are, July 10th through the 18th, and the merchants up there at Oakley invite you to come on up and be a part of it, including Clark's for Shopping at 100 East Main Street in Oakley. And you know about Grandma's recipe for that famous sausage in bulk patties or links. It is good. It is delicious. And let me tell you that Tom and Harlow and the whole folks, all the folks up there at Clark's for Shopping, invite you to come up and have fun during Oakley Pioneer Days. Oakley Valley Stone at 204 West Main Street in Oakley says, yes, sir, celebrate 133 years of Oakley Pioneer Days. And don't forget, if you're looking for a new fireplace for the stone and a headstone for a loved one, or landscaping boulders, look no further than the best source, and that's Oakley Valley Stone. Don't forget that. Smith's Cafe. Now, there is a place for good eating. Celebration at 135 East Main Street in Oakley. And they're open Tuesday through Saturday, 8 a.m. in the morning until all the customers are full and happy and leave the front door. Absolutely. They make the best doggone burgers, and they've got always the items to quench your thirst, and they say, come on up to Oakley for Pioneer Days. And last but not least, Scott Becky, Speaker of the House and representative for this area and a rancher in Oakley. Every year of Oakley Pioneer Days, he gets on the radio and invites everybody to the best doggone celebration in Idaho, the Oakley Pioneer Days, and it's going to run this year from July 10th all the way through the 18th. Don't forget it. Oakley Pioneer Days. Thank you, Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke. It is going to be a lot of fun. Those folks up there at Oakley, they also have a lot of fun, and very well run with the Oakley Vigilantes and others. Thank you for all your support. Coming up next hour, we are going to be talking to Dr. History. He's coming into the studio. Then, I want to set this up a little bit. We've got Senator Mary Souza coming on the program via the phone at 10:30, and she sponsored the bill to protect girls' sports at the Senate, and I absolutely am looking forward to having her on the program and really talking about the transgender problem, and it is a problem, with transgender males infiltrating and coming into girls' sports and just absolutely destroying the value of girls' sports. So Mary Souza, Senator Mary Souza, will be on the program with us at 10:30 this morning. I've got time for a call or two. Give us a jingle at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The American Legion Paul Post number 77. Why is that hard to say? American Legion Paul Post number 77 is going to have their annual German sausage breakfast. That is so good. It's only $8 a plate. It's going to be on July 18th from 7 in the morning till 10 in the morning at the Wilbur C. Hall at 132 East Wayne Street in Paul. So don't forget, get your tickets right now for that American Legion Paul Post 77. Delicious German sausage breakfast. Oh, man, I hope I'm here. That is going to be one ripping good time and a lot of good eating. Don't forget that. Oh, and I've got one other little public service note, and I'm saying that as I'm going through everything. We had Rick Parker on the program, and on behalf of the Minidoka County Historical Museum, and they're going to be celebrating their 50th anniversary with a grand reopening and yard sale on July 17 and 18 from 8 in the morning until 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Don't forget, 17th and 18th of July, and they're going to have hundreds of items in the yard sale, and of course all the proceeds from the yard sale will be used for improvements to the Minidoka County Museum. There you go. I'm going to kick this back over to Sean at our main studio, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes. Don't go away. Oh, play that piano. I love that song. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. Hour number 3. And we're going to have Dr. History on the program here momentarily. I want to remind everybody we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Very safe, clean environment, and the best in tires. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Let's not forget to our friends at Greystone Crossing Senior Living. Seniors, I really urge you. I know you're out there listening. I know that maybe you're interested and contemplating moving into a senior unit. This is a beautiful place. 12-bedroom home, and they furnish 3 meals a day, delicious meals too, snacks, housekeeping, local transportation. I urge you to call Matt and Kelly Wiggins at at 650-4979. That number again, 650-4979. They'll set up an appointment to show you the beautiful Greystone Crossing Senior Living on Alfresco Road. That's 21st Street. Don't forget, Greystone Crossing Senior Living, 650-4979. Want to urge you to remind yourself to get a hold of the folks with 7K Metals. Yes, sirree. Lon Hardy at 312-8699. Write that number down. Or Sharon at 430-3259. They can help you build your financial security and future with silver purchases sent right to your home from 7K Metals. It's a great saving opportunity and a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. Don't forget, Lon Hardy and Sharon, 312-8699 or 430-3259. 7K Metals. You check it out today. Well, it is Tuesday, and his entourage are out feeding and graining the horses from the buggy that brought him here. Good morning, Dr. History. How are you?
Just great. We had a wonderful 4th of July celebration. Had all 14 of my grandkids, my 6 kids and their spouses, and I don't know who else showed up, but other relatives and friends, and just had a wonderful, and I did tell you about my Traeger grill that I grilled 2 great big pork butts, delicious, moist. Ooh.
What kind of a basting did you put on it?
I don't remember. I just, I had a little friend, one of my son-in-law's brother came, and he had all these things he helped me put on it. And
I bet it was just absolutely like candy.
Oh, just tender, wonderful, yeah.
Oh, well, I certainly appreciate the invitation.
Yeah. Next time, next year,
you
maybe.
You say that every time.
I know. We'll do it one of these years.
Hey, do you have anybody you need to thank?
I do. I want to say hi to a family in Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit,
Michigan.
My goodness.
This is an Armenian family.
Really?
And they, the mother and father are both Armenian. The father is named Aaron Broglin. His wife, and I hope I pronounce these correctly, his wife's name is Zaruhi. They have a daughter, Sose, another daughter, Sona, a son, Armin, and they are coming out here to visit. They are coming to Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and so I've given them a whole list of places to go up by Island Park.
So you're the professional tour guide.
Exactly. I mean, Virginia City, Nevada City.
Oh, my.
They might make it up to Glacier Park.
Did they say how they came across your name and Dr. History?
I don't know.
You know, this just proves my point. I got into a little heated discussion with somebody not too long ago, and I said, we're listened to all over the country on this program. And I said all over the world, literally. I mean, I don't know how many countries. And you're just solidifying the fact that people are tuning in on the internet service.
And I think it's just probably word of mouth. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, want to welcome the Broglin family out here to Idaho.
In Detroit.
Yeah. They might even come up here to meet me in Burley. And
wouldn't it be great if we could get them on the radio?
Oh, that would be fun, too.
Oh, man, that'd be fantastic. Yeah.
So today...
What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about someone, and I think a lot of people may have heard of this lady, Pearl Hart. Have you heard of Pearl Hart? Maybe not.
Pearl S. Hart?
I don't know.
Was that her middle initial?
I don't know.
Was she related to Bill Hart?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
So here we go. She was a true lady outlaw, even if she was not a very good one. She was always a source of interest to the public and to the sheriff who brought her in. When Sheriff Bill Truman of Pima County, Arizona, arrested Pearl Hart in 1899, he described her to the Arizona Daily Star as, quote, a tiger cat for verve and endurance. She looks feminine enough now in the woman's clothes I got for her, and one can see the touch of a tasteful woman's hand in the way she has brightened up her cell. Yet only a couple of days ago, I had a struggle with her for my life. She would have killed me in my tracks. Could she have gotten to her pistol? Sure, women are curious creatures.
No, wait a minute. I do know this woman. She was, I don't have any pictures of her. Do you?
Yes.
Yeah. She was kind of petite and small, wasn't she?
She was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to show me a picture of her.
There's one picture of her.
And she was kind of manhandling the sheriff, right?
And here's the other picture.
Oh, my goodness.
First one, she looks like an outlaw. This one, she looks like just a sweet little going-to-church lady.
Yeah, I was going to say she's passing the collection plate.
Yes. Yeah. So, anyway, Pearl Hart's wild move into the crime world was apparently sparked out of a desire to help her mother. Now, her mother and sister had taken over the rearing of her 2 children in Ontario, Canada, around 1899. So Pearl Hart received word from her older sister that their mother was very sick and the medical bills were piling up. Mm-hmm. So Hart wasn't exactly in a position to offer any financial assistance. She divorced her first husband, a guy named Frederick Hart, and he was also the father of her children. But Pearl Hart was living with an aspiring miner named Joe Boot. Now, his mining claims didn't pan out, so the couple turned to robbery.
Oh, well, naturally.
Sure. So, you gotta make a little money. So Hart would actually lure drunken men to her room. Boot would clobber them on the head, knock him senseless, and then they would just steal the guy's money and leave him on the floor, knocked out.
Oh, my.
To wake up with no money and a headache.
Big headache. Yeah.
So anyway, this worked for a while until they were spotted and nearly arrested, managing to escape a few steps ahead of the law. After that scare, Hart came up with what she thought was a less risky plan. This scheme involved holding up the Boston Globe stage between Globe and Florence, Arizona.
Really?
Like so many of her outlaw sisters, Hart disguised herself as a man, like that picture I showed you.
Yeah.
To carry out the crime. So she actually cut her hair and put on a common miner's shirt, coveralls, and with resolve, she tucked her pants into her boots, pulled on a cowboy hat, and on May 30th, 1899, Hart and Boot stepped out in front of the stagecoach with their guns drawn.
I see.
Boot held up the driver while Hart lightened the load of all 3 passengers. She got about $450 for her efforts. That's pretty good,
Back in those days.
Yeah. And she reportedly gave each of her 3 victims $1 back so they'd have money for food and a hotel room when they got to town. So she was a kind robber.
Kind of a Robin Hood.
Yeah. Well, anyway, then the desperados fired a few shots in the air, and they took off on their horses on a dead run, and they tried to put as much distance as they could between themselves and the posse that was sure to be after them.
Sure.
Now, planning is key, right, Zeb, with anything you try to do.
Well, you and I are not bank robbers, so we can't equate to that.
So the trouble was, they got completely and hopelessly lost.
Wait a minute, they got lost?
They got lost. So Boot was about as good an outdoorsman as he was a miner. In other words, not much.
I see.
For 2 days, they wandered in circles, hungry, tired, and confused, out in the desert.
And the posse's after.
Oh. On the 3rd day, completely exhausted, they had to sleep. And when they woke up, there was a Winchester and a Colt 45 looking them in the face.
So basically, they made a bad mistake.
They did. They didn't have a GPS. Yeah. And anyway, thanks to a posse led by Sheriff Bill Truman, the pair had made it only a few miles from the holdup site.
Are you kidding
me?
They
were only a few
After
miles.
3 days?
Yeah. They just went in circles. You'd think they would have seen at least their tracks and thought, well, these are our tracks.
Oh, these are really sharp crooks.
Yeah. Anyway, at first, Hart seemed to be kind of compliant. She told Truman her name and the name of her partner in crime, Joe Boot, which was probably not really his real name, but it's a name that stuck with him for whatever reason. Anyway, then Hart tried to bolt, forcing Truman to wrestle her to the ground. And remember, she's not very big.
No.
She took off running. Well, and as the sheriff commented later, quote, she was anxious not to go to jail.
Anxious not to go.
The Arizona Star characterized Hart as, quote, a wildcat woman, and had she not been relieved of her weapon, a bloody foray might have resulted.
The language in those days was so colorful.
It really was. I am so amazed when I read the actual words that they used. So, anyway, the two bandits were charged, and they were held in Florence, Arizona jail. Now, Hart was later moved to the jail in Tucson.
I've been to Florence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she went to the jail in Tucson because it had better facilities for the women.
Yeah.
For women.
Yeah.
Now, the media had a field day with her arrest and trial, and she seemed to quite enjoy the notoriety.
Really?
This was kind of exciting. She was eagerly giving interviews and signing autographs. Crowds of people would sometimes gather around the jail to get a glimpse of the pretty lady who robbed a stage. National newspapers and magazines such as Cosmopolitan arrived in droves to interview her in jail.
My.
I mean, she was a huge thing back then.
How old was she when this took place?
I'm going to say late 20s.
Late 20s.
Yeah, I think so. But enjoying his time in the spotlight, Sheriff Truman, he kind of fed the frenzy, telling the Arizona Daily Star, quote, she is a delicate, dark-haired woman with little about her that would suggest the ability to hold up a stage loaded with frontiersmen. She had refined features, a mouth of the true rosebud type, and clear blue eyes that would be confounding to a baby. That was what he said. Okay. Hart soon became one of the most famous women in Arizona.
No kidding.
Yeah. And all she did was rob a stage and get lost.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
She had a heck of a PR person.
She did. Now, the newspapers credited Hart with being the first and only female stagecoach bandit in the West. However, a woman by the name of Jane Kirkham had beaten her to this honor in 1879 when she robbed a stage near Buena Vista, Colorado, but she was killed in the robbery and never had a time to become a national sensation.
Yeah, Pearl Hart was better off lost.
Yeah, she was better off to not get shot.
Yeah.
So anyway, while what led Hart down her kind of dusty road to fame, she was born Pearl Lindsay in approximately 1872 in Lindsay, Ontario, Canada. She attended a boarding school and received a really good, actually, education for a girl in her day. She was very well educated. Her mother had hoped boarding school would kind of stop Pearl's adventurous spirit. I guess she just kind of loved just getting out there and doing adventuresome stuff.
Nothing about her dad?
No. Nope. But anyway, this didn't stop her, and Pearl wasn't above running away from school when she got bored with the routine. So you can see she's a bit of a wild child.
Yeah.
Yeah. So during one of her adventures, Pearl met a kind of a rogue named Frederick Hart. Some accounts refer to him as John Hart. Anyway, I guess he was a good-looking man who kind of swept her off her feet. She was in love, but her family would have none of it. Pearl and Frederick Hart eloped. She was 17 years old.
Oh, my.
Which, back then, really 15, 16, 17 was not unusual for marriage at all. Well, Frederick Hart dreamed of being a full-time gambler. Unfortunately, he wasn't very good at it.
Sounds to me like we got a bunch of...
and it always seemed to spend more money than he made. Worse, he was also supposed to be kind of a heavy drinker.
Uh-oh.
And unfortunately, he abused Pearl physically. Pearl frequently left him, but would come back when he promised to straighten up his life, which is a common story.
Yeah.
Eventually, the cycle would start again. He would lose money, fall into debt and poverty, then start beating up on Pearl. Well, the couple lived, obviously, from hand to mouth. Anyway, Hart went from job to job, while the two children, they really couldn't take care of them. And so finally, she took the two kids to her mother and sister, and she stayed with Fred Hart.
They did have two children.
Yeah, and she stayed with him for a little longer, but finally, the couple moved to Chicago in 1893, so Frederick could work as a barker at one of the exhibits at the World's Columbian Exposition.
Oh.
Okay. Now, Pearl worked odd jobs, but she also had a lot of free time to wander about this exposition. Listening to the lectures, seeing the shows, the exposition kind of changed her life. She saw things she'd never seen before, and the Wild West shows got her attention.
Really?
And especially sharpshooter Annie Oakley.
Oh, my.
Sometimes, of course, known as Little Miss Sure Shot.
Yep.
Yeah. And particularly, she was intrigued by Annie Oakley. She thought she was kind of a hero, kind of worshipped her a little bit. So Pearl soon developed a fascination with firearms and shooting. What was more, she wanted to see and experience the West and had a great desire to travel to the frontier to see the vast plains and the rugged mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So she was an adventurer. She really was pretty brave, really. So Pearl was determined to move west, specifically to Trinidad, Colorado.
Oh, yes.
And so she did without Frederick.
Oh.
She left Frederick behind.
Freddie got dumped.
The facts about her life in Trinidad are a little fuzzy. We don't really know much about what she did there.
I see.
But what is known is that she reconciled with Frederick one more time.
Oh, no.
In the late 1890s, then finally gave up on the marriage for good. The couple divorced.
I see.
So she finally learned her lesson. Now,
what about the kids?
They're still with grandma and sister back up in Canada.
I see.
So anyway, she met Joe Boot.
Oh, good old Joe.
In 1899 in Arizona. In an interview later in life, she said he was a wonderful man and she loved him.
But he was worthless.
Well, he wasn't very good at directions. We know that. So, at other times, and she goes on to say, at other times, she said he was useless. According to Sheriff Truman, she expressed, quote, nothing but contempt for her companion.
Man, things went downhill, didn't they?
Yeah, so she went from one loser to another.
Yeah.
Anyway, her true feelings will never be known, but the duo certainly managed to find trouble together. When Hart was still in the Tucson jail for the stagecoach robbery, she and Boot pulled. She got a little stir crazy. She didn't like being in jail.
Well, can you imagine that?
So they decided to bust out and feel the fresh air again. She found a willing accomplice in Ed Hogan.
Now, wait a minute. Her and Boot are in jail together.
Together.
Okay.
Yeah. She found an accomplice by a guy named Ed Hogan. He was a jail trustee who had been jailed for drunkenness.
Oh.
So he was a trustee.
Yeah.
So the two jailbirds decided to create a hole in the wall of her prison cell. On October 20th, 1899, the Tucson Star reported, quote, after everything was quiet, it was the work of a few minutes to cut a hole through the wall into Pearl's room. She held a sheet to catch the plaster. After the hole was cut through, she put a sheet underneath and placed her chair upon that crawled through the hole. Hart was recaptured a few days later in New Mexico and brought back to jail in Tucson.
Didn't somebody hear all this ruckus?
Well, like I say, the trustee was kind of not really a good trustee.
No, and he was kind of the Otis of Mayberry.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
So in late 1899, the celebrity outlaw was tried for the stagecoach robbery. Hart put on quite a show for the court, using the court as a platform to expound on her views of feminism. She flatly
stated... Want to try that one again?
Feminism? She flatly stated that no court of men had the authority to put her on trial. She argued, quote, I shall not consent to be tried under a law in which my sex had no voice in making. She wanted some women to be in the jury.
Yeah.
And back then, I don't think they ever let...
I'm not going to cross her. You tell her.
No. Well, anyway, after a heated trial, the jury acquitted Pearl Hart.
Really?
Now, her partner in crime, Joe Boot, was sentenced to 30 years at the Yuma Territorial Prison. But she got away. You got
to be kidding me. For the same crime?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So that was 1899. Well, in 1901, he escaped from prison, fled to Mexico, never to be seen.
How did he find Mexico?
That's a good question. That's a good question. So anyway, Judge Fletcher Dolan, he was kind of mad that the jury had acquitted Hart.
Uh-huh.
He urged the prosecutors to charge her with stealing a pistol from the driver of the stage. Hart was immediately charged, tried, and convicted of the crime and sentenced to 5 years at the Yuma Territorial Prison. While serving her time, Hart continued to grant interviews, although some of the public interest in her kind of faded. She described her dream of a career as a performer, perhaps in a Wild West show. She even talked to a playwright who wanted to write a play about her life and cast her as the star once she was out of prison. But Hart's stay in prison was short but eventful. She had special privileges and a private cell, which was kind of rare for a human. She sometimes crammed 10 inmates into one cell, where they would sometimes. Well, anyway, here's what she did. She told the authorities that she was pregnant. She wasn't telling the truth. Nevertheless, they decided that the best thing would be to let her go.
You got to be kidding
because
me.
She probably lied about that. But on December 19th, 1902, Hart walked out the door a free woman. She soon discovered that she'd become old news. History lost track of her, and legend once again fills in the gaps. It's said that she tried her hand at acting, or even moved back to Ontario, where she lived quietly with her kids and her older mother. It's believed that she died in the 1950s, but the legend continues on.
She went back to Canada.
To Canada, yeah.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. So
all of that because of a botched holdup.
A botched holdup, and she wasn't a bad person, I don't think.
Oh, no, she was just a real joy.
I mean, the sheriff described her, was glad she didn't have a gun when he arrested her, or he might be pushing up daisies.
Is that Pearl Hart?
Pearl Hart.
And let me see that picture again.
Okay.
I cannot believe that somebody that small and diminutive.
That's the picture of her with her gun and her hat and her overalls.
Uh-huh.
Then this is the picture of her. Look at that. A bonnet.
Sweet
a beautiful
little lady.
Yeah, I mean,
Why?
she just looks like she could be, like, say, sitting next to her in church.
Pass the tea and crumpets. I'll tell you what. Doc, I got to run, but that's a good story. And she died up in Canada.
In the 1950s, they think. Somewhere back there.
Well after you and I were born.
Well after. Somewhere on there.
Yeah, all right. Hey, God bless you, man.
You
Thanks.
bet.
And to those people back in Detroit, thank you for listening.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go any further, I've got to tell you quickly, Oakley Pioneer Days, don't forget it. It's coming up on the 10th and all the way through the 18th. The 10th of July through July 18th. Oakley Pioneer Days, the famous Oakley Pioneer Days. They're going to start this weekend on Friday and Saturday with the 12th annual Bump and Rub Car Race. Are you going to be there, Doc? It's going to be great. Both nights starting at 7 p.m. And then don't forget they're going to have gymkhanas. They're going to have an open rodeo on the 17th and 18th. Don't forget a lot of food, a lot of good cooking up there, fireworks, all of this, and the huge Pioneer Day Parade on the 18th, right there in Oakley for Oakley Pioneer Days for 2020. Don't you miss it. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studio. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much and welcome back to our last half hour. I want to remind you quickly about our big values and all the efforts of Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more to make sure that you have the best of carpet and flooring and all your furniture, your sofas, love seats, everything, and mattresses for a good night's sleep from Simmons Beauty Rest. All of this and more at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. They're located at 459 Overland in Burley. Believe me, every day they open the door, they say, come on in, we can help you with all the decorating and the beautification of your home and for your comfort. All the recliners, they've got one of the largest selection of recliners of anywhere. You stop in today to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley. Well, I'm very happy to have this next lady on my program, and she is the District 4 Senator for the state of Idaho, Mary Souza. Good morning, Mary. How are you?
I'm great, Zeb. How are you?
Well, I'm so glad to have you on the program, and I guess we'll get right to the crux of the matter that I wanted to discuss this morning. The transgender issue of males trying to become involved and taking over girls' sports is absolutely very serious in this country. We are seeing stories of, like in Connecticut, girls that were competing in the track team. They were losing availability of scholarships and awards because of transgender males becoming involved in their athletic program. This is a sickness that has to stop, and I'm so glad that our Governor Little had the backbone to sign Bills 500 and 509, which would make it that much tougher for transgender males trying to infiltrate girls' sports. What are your thoughts, Mary, please?
Well, thank you, Zeb. You know, what we like to do is focus on the positive. And the positive about House Bill 500 is that we are setting out in Idaho protections for girls and women in athletics. We're not trying to discriminate against anybody. We're trying to say athletics in Idaho, taxpayer-funded athletics at all levels, will be protected for biological girls and women as they progress in their development and as they choose what they want to do. That's the crux of the bill. It says only biological girls and women may participate in women's sports in Idaho. If there are other people who want to, if there are boys, biological boys may participate in male athletics in Idaho or co-ed athletics in Idaho. So they have choices. But only biological girls may participate in women and girls athletics in our state.
You know, girls in their athletic programs, they've had to struggle for years and years to come up to somewhat of an equitable and fair playing field with finances provided for their programs. And the Title IX was the best thing that ever happened to girls' sports. Me being a father of a young lady that was an outstanding high school and college athlete, I absolutely applaud girls and what they've achieved and how they're being successful under Title IX, and I will absolutely fight to the death transgender males trying to get involved in their programs. It's not right, and it's completely discriminatory against the women.
And you know, Zeb, there are some really great developmental lessons that come from sports. Both boys and girls understand, the parents of both boys and girls understand the positive effect it can have in participating in sports. Girls need to have those protections in their sports because of the biological difference between male bodies and female bodies. Male bodies have stronger muscles, larger hearts, larger lung capacity, more hemoglobin oxygen carrying parts in their blood. Their pelvises are structured differently. They have an absolute biological advantage over women in athletics, and that's a reality. That's just common sense science. So when we protect sports for girls and women under Title IX and under now House Bill 500, we are saying there is a difference biologically. We want to make it fair for girls and women. And then another thing that's really important is that girls learn these lessons about working hard, succeeding when you didn't think you necessarily can at a game or a sport. And they go on, Fortune 500 CEOs that are women, there's a high percentage of them that that participated in sports in high school and college, and then went on to really high-achieving careers in their lives, whether it's in business or other parts. it just teaches them life lessons, and we need to protect that for our girls in Idaho.
Absolutely. Very well stated. I've got quite a few different newspaper stories here that I have saved regarding this topic, one of which was opinion page written by Representative Alana Rubel from the state of Idaho, and the headline is, "Hate is not the Idaho way." And I want to really be distinctive when I say trying to stop transgender males from becoming involved in female sports is not hate in any way, shape, or form. What it is a common decency and respect for the girls, the records, the attributes, and the accolades and the achievements that they can make from their gender, and not to have it basically spoiled by transgender males destroying their athletic achievements.
You know, what's amazing to me about some of the opinion pieces that are coming out from those who do not agree with House Bill 500 is that they never acknowledge the biology difference.
Absolutely.
They don't talk about the science. And the science is clear and irrefutable that male bodies have an absolute athletic advantage over female bodies. I don't have the exact number in my head, but there's a statistic, a fact, that says that over 200 high school, there are over 200 high school track males, boys, who run faster.
Yeah.
The fastest, their times are faster than the fastest female Olympian.
That's right. Mary, why is there...
High school versus Olympics, and we're talking boys versus women.
Absolutely.
And that's just an absolute difference. So when Representative Rubel or anyone who is penning an opinion piece, they say that they seem to always imply that this is a hate issue, and it's not at all. This is a protection for girls and women. There are people all over the country who have written to me and to Barbara Ehart. Representative Ehart is the main sponsor of this bill. I'm the Senate co-sponsor of the bill, and we've worked together for months on this bill to get it through. So we were very glad when the governor signed it.
Absolutely.
But yes, but we have worked very hard, and for these people to imply that we are trying to hate anyone is wrong.
Absolutely.
Never even said that to each other. It is not something that we are simply trying to protect women's sports for women and girls.
Absolutely.
And there are very, very liberal women's groups, the Women's Liberation Front, who call themselves radical feminists. They are in strong support of our bill. So this is not just a partisan issue. It's not just one-sided. There are people from all political views who agree with this view.
Mary, why, in your opinion, as a senator for this state of Idaho, and looking at all the stories of this kind of thing happening across the United States, why is there such a big push from the left and by the left to get into and destroy women's sports with this transgender issue? Why are they pushing it, including Democratic nominee Joe Biden?
You know, Zeb, that is a huge question, and it really crosses over so many of the things we see happening in our country. It's not just this bill, it's not just women's sports, it's not even just transgender. It is a bigger question, and I wish I had a simple answer to it, but I think it is a cultural discussion. It is a cultural discussion, and all we can do here in Idaho is protect our sports for our girls and our women.
Now, Mary, you know that the NCAA is threatening to pull any event, and then there's the threat from the ACLU for lawsuits, etc. Bring us up to speed on what these people are doing to try to condemn Governor Little in the signing of Bill 500 and people like you and me for promoting that girls' sports should be left alone. What are they doing in the courts right now?
Well, the ACLU lawsuit is going to have a hearing later this month in Idaho courts, and we will see what the Idaho court says about it. But we expect, or we are prepared, to take this all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, if need be. However, there are both conservative and very liberal groups who are putting legal papers of support in for House Bill 500. So we'll see. Under Title IX, there's really a lot of support for protecting women's sports, and it's different than the other title, the other titles under the 1964 and 1972 acts. And so we'll see what the courts decide. But we have a lot of support and a lot of legal support. So our state AG's office is working on it, as well as some national legal groups that are helping us get this legal question answered.
You know, Mary, I'm an old man, and I never anticipated or ever had any thought that in my lifetime I'd be talking about or reading about or having somebody on my program talking about transgenders first and foremost, and then transgender males trying to infiltrate and dominate ladies' sports. I mean, what happened to a society of two genders, male and female, and each one promoting and doing the best they can in regards to their selected gender sex? I just can't understand why we have all these problems.
I wish I had the answer for you, Zev, because that would be great. However, I think what we can do in Idaho and in our legislature is take care of the people in our state,
yes,
our districts, our state, and say, in Idaho, we recognize the science of biology, and we will acknowledge the differences and the fairness factor, because it is not fair for someone with an innate biological advantage to play against another gender that does not have that advantage. There are immutable characteristics that we hear about all the time, that you are born a certain way with certain biology, and you can't change that. You can change your idea of yourself, and that's gender identity. But what some people are trying to do is mix the terms gender identity and biological sex, and they are very different from each other. Gender identity is what you think you are, and go ahead, you be you. We don't care. That's fine. Whatever you want to be, you can do that within the boundaries of fairness and equality for everyone. And so your biology, if it's male, you don't get to be on a female team, but you can identify as whatever you want. You just can't play on a female athletic team because you have a scientific biological advantage that's not fair. And that's what we're trying to do, is just protect girls and women on their teams. Because of their biology, they will only play against girls and women.
You know, I've got to admit that I would love to have sat in on a boardroom meeting or behind closed doors with your committees, etc., because I just can't understand how anyone can look at this issue and say it's okay for a transgender male to participate in girls' sports. I just don't understand where they come up with the equitable and fair situation when we look again at what happened in Connecticut, and those girls were deprived of going to state finals in track because of transgender males winning the trophies and all the accomplishments, and it hurt their career, possibly for scholarship money going into college. Where is the fairness at all in damaging girls' sports? I just don't understand these people. Tell us a little bit about some of the conversations that were held up in Boise.
Well, and anyone who goes to legislature.idaho.gov, that website, I can't really describe it well over the the interview now over the phone, but you can go there and look up House Bill 500 from the 2020 legislative session, and it will give you where the steps that we went through to get to the success with this bill. And if you note the dates that the Senate hearing happened or the House hearing happened in the committees and on the floor, you can actually find audio recordings of those meetings and listen to them. And video, you can see the video of our floor sessions where the bill came up. It's not going to be easy to access, but it is there in the archive.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I will tell you, the committee meetings were packed with people from the Boise area who were mainly against the bill. And yet every argument that came up, we were able to explain with common sense and science the reasons for this bill, and they really had no answer that made any sense at all.
Absolutely.
It was very emotional, and it was very political on their part. However, the biology and the science ruled the day, and common sense is still alive and well in Idaho.
You know, Mary, I wished we had longer to talk, but I'm out of time, and I really want to say how much I respect you for coming on the program and discussing this. I wish you the best in your political future, and again, thank you for coming on our program this morning. Senator Mary Sousa, you're a blessing to have on the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb. You have a great day.
Thank you very much. I really enjoy that lady coming on the program and telling it like it is about preserving the sanctity of girls' sports for girls and not to be infiltrated by transgender males. Time for the weather. The weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. You can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com, and check out all the delicious meats, all the hams, all the different flavors of bacon, all the pork chops and the tri-tips and the bratwurst. Oh, it's summertime. You got to have bratwurst. You be sure and check it out today. Call them on the phone, 324-7657. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Don Scarrow and his crew, excellent meats for you and any occasion. Right now, let's have Gina come in here with the weather.
Milder temperatures for today, but still warming up for the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies, a little bit of a breeze out of the west at about 10 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 77. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 50. Tomorrow, sunny skies with a high of 80. Overnight low of 52. We are expecting a high of 88 for Thursday under sunny skies. By Friday, 87. And then as we look ahead towards Saturday and Sunday, it looks like we're going to be in the 90s. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, and brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Yes, sir. 331 North Road, Jerome. Don Scarrow and his entire outfit. I got to get him back over here on the air live. Don, bring some bratwurst with you. And don't forget, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time at Scarrows Meats. Wow, what do we got cooking on the program for tomorrow? We are expecting tomorrow to have Governor Little on the program at 10:06. And prior to that, we're going to have Bill Bullard with RCAF USA. Dr. Keith Abloh will be on our program. And then also Doug Giles. Boy, we have got a huge, really big program for tomorrow, and you don't want to miss a minute of it. And my thanks to the governor for saying he would come back on. He was here, 2 weeks ago? And we're going to try to make this a bi-weekly report from his office tomorrow morning. I want to remind you, too, about our friends, and they're your friends, too, at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, none of us really understand all the components of what makes a good tire, what all the different tread designs are for, etc. They know every single tire that's on the rack down there at any and all of the 7 locations for your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And you know what? along with all the top-notch tires for your travel time this summer and going into the fall, your horse trailers, boat trailers, everything, they have a free pre-trip safety check, which means they're going to check the tire inspection to make sure they're wearing okay, tire pressure check. They're going to check your alignment, visual inspection of the front-end components, visual inspection of the brake components, visual inspection of shocks and struts to see if you have a problem, check your battery and a load test. All of this before you head out on the highway, because they want you to leave, have a good time, and come back safely. And don't forget, farmers and dairymen, they have excellent on-the-farm service from any and all the 7 locations. Don't forget where they are. James in Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes in Twin Falls, the Twist family in Paul, and Trent. He's going to be on the air with us tomorrow on Overland in Burley. All 7 locations of the best. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Don't forget that. Wow, very interesting program. Thank you again to all my guests. Thank you to you out in the audience. And we're going to be back here again tomorrow morning at 8:06. And like I said, we've got a lot of great guests that are coming on. I want to mention this one more time. Rick Parker, a dear friend of mine, the Minidoka County Historical Society, somebody called on this earlier, is celebrating their 50th anniversary with a grand reopening and yard sale. That yard sale is going to be on July 17th. And 18 from 8 in the morning till 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And the proceeds from the yard sale are going to be used for improvements of the Minidoka County Museum. So don't forget that. Rick, thank you much. Well, we'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06, and we say the way things were are the way things ought to be. And the 4 words that mean the most to us are, of course, in God we trust. You take care. Stay cool. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06.